One of the tremendous privileges that I get in my job working with young people is I get often the first opportunity they've ever had to hear about the love and the power of Jesus Christ directly for them. And that's a huge privilege, and I love it. And one of the things I love most about it is the fact that I get the chance to remind myself in the process, because I'm so quick to forget just how loving and how powerful God is for me personally too, and how much He's done sacrificially for me. So I'd love to tell you a story about a girl that I'm going to call Emma to illustrate the impossibility of the task and how Jesus overcame it. And the passage that I'm looking at is Romans 8 verses 3 and 4, and if you want to look at it later in another version you can. But it says this in my version, which is the NIV. For what the law was powerless to do, in that it was weakened by the sinful nature, God did by sending His own Son in the likeness of sinful man to be a sin offering. And so He condemned sin in sinful men, in order that the righteous requirements of the law may be fully met in us, who do not live according to the sinful nature, but according to the Spirit. And this story I'd love to tell you is about a girl that I met in the Kirk Halls. She came along on a Sunday morning, brought by cousins, and we got to know her a little bit. And she was really bright, and she was really attentive and fitted in very well, but circumstance meant that she wasn't able to stay for more than a couple of months at that point. And then fast forward about 4 years, she came along to Stage and Slam, our summer mission event at Gracemount High School. And while she was there, I got talking to her because I recognised her. And I said, "Hey, you're Emma, aren't you?" And she said, "Yes." And then I said her surname, and it had changed. And I was interested by that. And so I found out the story, which is quite a story of impossibility. So she never knew her father. Her biological father was never in her life. So she grew up under the care of a stepdad. And it got to a certain point when she was in her teens when she said, "I would love for you to be my real dad, that I could recognize legally that you are my dad." And so they looked into that together, but it turned out that because of his past, it wasn't legally possible. He'd had a past that included prison and it included drug abuse. And because of those heavy past things that he was still carrying in his life, legally, it was impossible for her to be adopted by him. He couldn't adopt her. That was the impossibility that she faced, but she wasn't wanting to be stopped by that, so she looked at any other way around this impossible task because she really wanted to be united in family with him. And she realised that by the time that she got to 16, if she waited till then, she could change her name by default to his. So what the law made it impossible for him to do because of his past, his weakness, his brokenness, where he'd failed, she found a way, by not having broken the law, to be united with him and come into his family that way. And then he had the choice. He had the choice to live like that father or not. And the incredible thing is that when she got to 16, that's exactly what she did. She changed her name by default. Her surname was different to reflect his, and she adopted him. And what I think of in the story of Easter is this incredible, powerful story. It's a story of love. Deep, deep love, passionate love individually, not just for whole of mankind, but for us in our own personal plight. It's a story of bravery, leading up in the weeks ahead, knowing that this was coming, this crushing battle that Jesus was going to have to go through, and facing it sinlessly right to the end. But it's also a story beyond love, beyond bravery. It's a story of victory against the impossible. What we were powerless to do because of the law that we ourselves have failed. Paul describes it to the Romans like this: weakened by sinful nature. It's us that messed up. We could not attain the law. It was impossible to be part of God's family. Jesus, in dying a sinless, pure, perfect death after a sinless, pure, perfect life, allows us the opportunity so that we can live according to the Spirit. We have the choice, just like Emma's dad, that we can live now in family with God because of what Christ has done by identifying with us, living perfectly, and overcoming the impossibility of the law. Now, isn't that a great thing to share with our friends? And isn't that a great thing to live by in our own lives? Thank you. We serve the God of the impossible.